This is MykonosFan, and welcome back to Learning to Love PlayStation. Today, we'll look at the little music game that could, Vib-Ribbon. I'd like to talk a little bit about the history of this game for a bit, so just allow me to indulge. Vib-Ribbon begins with a man named Masaya Matsuura, who led a band called Sais alongside Shaka from 1985 through 1996, and I'm sorry if I butchered any of that. Sais released 10 studio albums and enjoyed a fair degree of success in Japan. Technological advancements in the early 90s piqued an interest in Matsuura to transition into interactive forms of media, such as video games, and in 1993, he founded Nana Onsha, which roughly translates to Seventh Sound Company. With Sais disbanding in 1996, and after Nana Onsha released a title called Tunin Glue for the Apple Bandai Pippin, they turned their attention to Parappa the Rapper for the PlayStation, which I'd include footage of here if I had the game, so instead I'll place footage of Jammer Lammy, which was released the same year as Vib-Ribbon in 1999. Parappa is often credited as the foundation for modern music games, with a heartwarmingly dazzling art style, music that won't ever leave your head, and a unique approach to video games pioneered by those who didn't really approach development with the usual mindset. So with Parappa and Lammy being such expressive, eye-catching games, Vib-Ribbon could easily draw some eyebrows with how basic its visual style is by comparison. On that note, Sony Computer Entertainment America passed on Vib-Ribbon, most likely due to it being incredibly difficult to market and doubting that it could turn a profit. The title was loved by those few who gave it a chance in European and Japanese territories, with American PlayStation devotees only able to envy foreign markets. Fast forward to E3 2014, Sean Layden, recently appointed PlayStation President of America, takes the stage, coming from years of experience in Sony's London and Japan computer entertainment businesses. With an earnest heart, he hoped to prove his worth as president to the company's hardcore fans, despite being burdened with the usual numbers talk that makes those fans groan.
All of you for the really warm welcome out here on stage. Wow, there's a lot of people in this room. I've been to every E3 except the very first one. From LA to Atlanta, then back to LA. I've sat where all of you are sitting now, but never thought for a second that I might have the honor and privilege of being on this stage before all of you.
He brought up his love for a little game called Vib-Ribbon to show that he meant business and understood the brand he'd spent 18 years working for. Layden praised the game for going against the tide, and then moved on to talk about a new Mortal Kombat game as part of the press conference.
A little earlier, I was delighted to hear Andy give a shout out to one of the most iconic games of our time, Vib-Ribbon. Yeah, give it up for Vib-Ribbon. A personal favorite of mine that really embodies the PlayStation spirit. It wasn't a multi-million seller, but that's not the point. Vib-Ribbon was unafraid to go against the tide. It was courageous in its ambition, and it brought a completely new experience to gamers. It's an incredible time to be part of the PlayStation family. I look forward to growing our gaming community through breakthrough experiences that inspire and delight.
Layden had worked on releasing Vib-Ribbon in Europe, but had forgotten that the American market, the one he was primarily speaking to, never had a chance to play the game, leading to a lot of outcry from fans who thought he was going to talk about a re-release or a sequel or anything to do with his title that had slipped through the cracks. That outcry led to Layden ordering a Vib-Ribbon port to be developed, and in October 2014, the PlayStation Network got a new PS1 classic added to its lineup. Thanks to Wired.com for the great write-up on the story of Vib-Ribbon's re-release, which I'll link to in the description if you're curious to read more about it. The Vib-Ribbon PSN port is an interesting fusion of the European version, which had an English language but was designed for PAL TV formats, and the Japanese version, which was designed for NTSC TV sets but had Japanese language. But enough history, let's crack down on this. Vib-Ribbon stars a little vector-lined rabbit called Vibri, who runs through vector-lined maps in time to music against a black background. Again, the game's simplicity is impossible to ignore for a 1999 PlayStation title, but I find it quite charming. Particularly Vibri's character design. It's been said a million times by those who beat the drum for this game, but making a character of this kind look adorable with these limitations is no easy feat. The goal of Vib-Ribbon is to get this cute little rabbit through levels, which are designed to be in time with music. The game uses 4 buttons, R1 for loops, X for those spiked walkways, down on the directional pad for angled dips in the floor, and L1 for those raised platforms. On higher difficulties, the game throws you curveballs by combining these obstacles, requiring both buttons to be pressed simultaneously to clear them. Maybe some of that sounds a little simple, but this can quickly prove to be an exercise in memory and dexterity, and one I'm very poor at. Something worth mentioning that's harming this particular release is the input lag caused by HD TVs when the game is outputted through HDMI, which can affect your gameplay. Thankfully, Vib-Ribbon is a generous game when it comes to timing, and I will stress that the input lag is through no fault of the game or the PlayStation 3, but it is something to keep in mind. Now, when playing on the PlayStation Vita, that doesn't seem to be a concern as the game plays fine. On either system, however, the game is incredibly fun. A title like this would be nothing without its music, and with 6 ridiculously addictive tracks performed by Laugh and Peace, the game is a delight. The game splits itself into 3 difficulty levels, with 2 music pieces assigned to each. Again, the game is very generous with timing, and it's pretty clear when you're making mistakes, as Vibri will let out a horrifyingly cute screech, and as you make more and more mistakes, Vibri will turn into a frog and a slug, and the entire stage will violently shake until you start cleaning up your act. Oh, and if you don't miss a beat, Vibri turns into a princess. Yeah, that's a thing that happens. It's still adorable, so it's all great. I can't overstate how fun the music is. It loves to just randomly slow down and speed up like crazy for the sole purpose of trying to trip you up and keep you on your toes. Those with a more critical eye will have noted that 6 music pieces isn't a lot, and that's where a layer of brilliance shines in Vib-Ribbon. The game has an incredibly small file size and can load itself into the PlayStation's RAM. In theory, on the original system, you could put in an audio CD and play Vib-Ribbon to any music you could ever want. With the PlayStation 3, you can just have a music CD inserted. The game doesn't cheat and just randomly generates courses every time either. A song will always have the same layout, allowing you to practice and master your favorite songs. And you can select between 3 difficulties for your music choices, which is great. A caveat is that, while the aforementioned Vita version excels with no input lag, the CD feature obviously can't work with the device, meaning if you don't have a PS3 to play it on, you'll want to keep this lack of functionality in mind if you're deciding to purchase the title. When Vib-Ribbon supporters beat the drum for this game, they call it a true PlayStation classic, symbolic of the attitudes of the PS1's games in general. A truly unique, addictive, experimental title that perhaps didn't quite get the recognition it deserved. As I play more and more PlayStation titles, I'm starting to see that spirit, especially after falling in love with Vib-Ribbon. I don't see myself taking the music off of my iPhone's music player anytime soon, and I highly recommend the title to anyone looking to see how the music game genre evolved, or to anyone who hasn't played it in general, honestly. I hope you'll see what I see in the game. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Learning to Love PlayStation.
Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.